Welcome to the RAG Podcast, the weekly show where I interview recruitment owners who are prepared to tell their unique story of growth. This is all in aid of helping future and existing recruitment businesses who are looking to do similar things. Now, growth means different things to different people. So, by tuning in every week, you're no doubt going to find information that's relevant to you. On this week's episode of the RAG Podcast, I'm joined by Hemish Ilangaratne. Hemish is the founder of RX Group, a specialist life science recruiter headquartered in the UK but operating across the US. Hemish was at Real Staffing in the S3 group for 11 years, and for the final 7 years, he didn't do a single deal. Yet he started his own business in January 2023, hoping to bill 150k in year one. Now, Hemish exceeded that, and in his first 2 years is about to make $1 million in revenue, which is insane for someone who doubted themselves and wondered if they'd ever do a single deal. In this episode, we talk about his journey to joining S3, to building his career, and then launching RX Group. For anyone who doubts themselves or is looking to find out what it would be really like, and if it's possible to generate 7 figures of revenue so soon, you've got to listen to this episode. All right, let's get into it. Without further ado, Hemish, welcome to the RAG Podcast.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
I know, it's great to have you up in Sheffield. You said this is the most northern you've been in how long?
For a while. Well, I was born in Derby.
Yeah.
So it was nice going up on the train past
Go
Derby.
straight through it.
Straight through it, yeah. It was a lovely sunny day in London when I was there, when I was setting off, and then the clouds just setting as I went past Birmingham or something.
Oh, that's always the way. Do you know what? If you'd have been coming to Manchester, you could have guaranteed it was raining. So at least Sheffield's dry.
No, it's good. It's nice. Nice little setting.
Nice to get away. Yeah. Well, look, thanks so much, mate. It's been I've been thinking about this for a while because you've got your own podcast. I wanted you on this show. Before I get into any of your story, you know what? I've done an intro. It never does it justice. So, for anyone who doesn't know you, give us the bird's eye view of you and your business today, and then we'll go back and tell the story.
Yeah, Hemish Ilangaratne, founder of a company called RX Group. We're a life sciences specialist recruitment agency focused on the US East Coast.
Yeah. So you launched early last year, right? Was it January or February?
It was 2023? Yeah, February 2023. Straight into
training with me.
Boardroom,
it was incredible. Yeah. Talk me through the original plan to get into recruitment. So how old are you now?
37.
Yeah. So
sorry, same as you.
Yeah, I'm 38. So have you been in it since you finished uni or?
Yeah. So I went to uni. I went up to Durham. So
proper northern. Yeah.
Proper north. Did a biomedical science degree. I was thinking my parents sort of led me down the science route like most Asian kids do. Wanted to be a doctor. And then I did a law conversion course at Birmingham.
Right.
And then I can't remember. I got a call from a rec to rec. Was on like Easter holidays, didn't have a job.
Yeah.
Was applying for law training contracts and got the call from the rec to rec, decided to go and see him. Sent me off to a couple of interviews, went to a company called S3.
Yeah.
Never heard of them. Got the job.
Did you not think about doing legal recruitment?
Well, I didn't really think about recruitment in general. I didn't know anything about recruitment. I was like 22, 23. I think I was applying for sales jobs at the time. I'd done a bit of telesales. I'd done maybe 6 months or a year of telesales before uni.
Yeah.
So I was applying for training contracts, and then I was applying for sales jobs, and didn't know anything about recruitment. So just kind of went along to the interview. I was like, well, okay, fine. I'm on my Easter holidays. I've got nothing to do. I haven't got a job. I remember the guy. His name was Richard Daniels from Vanquish Recruitment,
right.
Rec to Rec. Met him in the city. Yeah. And he was like, what do you know about recruitment? I was like, nothing. What motivates you? And I was like, sounds really bad, but money?
Yeah.
He was like, no, that's exactly what I want to hear.
Exactly what I want to hear. Yeah. This is the only career you can say.
Exactly. So he was like, right, I'm going to send you tomorrow. I want you to come back. I want you to go to this address, which was this address in Soho Square. So I went and interviewed with S3. Was like in these meeting rooms for about 6 hours, like just 2 people coming in and out, and had to wait in there for 2 hours, like before the next person came. And yeah, they were like, well, why do you not want to do you not want to go into law? I was just lying. I was like, no, I like law, but don't really want to go into law. I've had a look at this recruitment career, seems quite good. And then they offered me the job. I think we went out, they offered me the job. My rec to rec was like, don't accept anything until you've spoken to me. So I was like, right, okay. So they offered me the job. And then they were like, will you accept? I was like, I'd just like to think about it. So then we went, I think they took me out for some beers with a few other people. And like within 2 hours of a couple of beers, I'd accepted. Like, yeah, get me started.
And how did the Rectorate take that? Not waiting.
Oh God, it was fine.
They're pleased, aren't they? They've done their job, right? So a very classic entry, right? You've not gone into it thinking I want to be a recruiter. You've got into it, and if you've gone and done a biomedical science degree, you're probably you've got an articulate way of, or like you've got to be an articulate person and probably quite analytical to do a degree like that, I imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I found it really hard.
Right.
I scraped a 2-2, and I was like, right, what am I going to do now? So then a few of my friends had done this law conversion course, like an LLB for grads, and I really enjoyed that degree. So I got a 2-1 in that. But no, I wouldn't say I was particularly like, a science, led down the science route. I was led down that route. Probably wasn't my strength.
Right.
I've got a good memory. So for law, it was quite useful because you're learning a statute, you're learning the law, applying it to real life, you're just memorizing stuff.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. But yeah, never after about 6 months in recruitment, I thought actually this is a good career. You can make some good money. You can build a career out of it.
Well, that's it. I think once you get your head into the job and foot in the door, you're like, some people don't, but majority of us have gone, well, something in this for me. How would you describe your career path and the trajectory? Because you were there for a long time at S3.
Yeah, I was there for 11 years. Yeah. It's funny, like I started, I remember going on the first day in Soho, and I didn't have a clue about recruitment still. Even, I got the job 3 months ago, still hadn't done any research. I remember turning up and there were 6 or 7 people that started on the same day. And I was the last one to turn up, and all in the foyer. And one of them said, "Are you on contract or perm?" I was like, "Well, I'm here permanently." So she was like, and this girl called Mary, who I'm good friends with now, like, to this day, she was like, "No, you're on contract with me, mate." So I went into it completely not knowing what I was doing, but I'd done some telesales before, which I think that's where I got a real good buzz for sales. I really enjoyed just picking up the phone. Like I was working with this company in Hemel Hempstead where I grew up. This tiny little office in the town centre, and you'd call through the yellow pages, and you'd be calling these farmers in Wales or Scotland or wherever, and just selling a cheaper phone tariff to them. Right. And you'd be dialing like 100 to 200 people a day. Wow! And like within 2 or 3 weeks, I was doing 7 or 8 deals per day. So I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the buzz. So started on the contract team at Real Staffing. Pharma and biotech. There was about 5 people on the team at the time.
Was there any part of your degree that helped?
I think so. Yeah, I think maybe not from a sort of a technical standpoint, but from a credibility standpoint. Like when I was talking to quality assurance people, it helped saying I did biomedical science as a background. I don't think it really helped from a technical standpoint.
Did it not help you understand things more?
Yeah, really. A bit maybe, but it wouldn't have been a.
I think that I remember starting at Randstad with a guy. We were both on the IT division, and he'd been working as a desktop support engineer, and I didn't know what the hell that was. I didn't know anything about. I was the same as you in the way that in my interview with the Rectorate, who didn't put me forward, and I ended up getting a job at the same company direct. He asked me, do you want to work blue collar or white collar?
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that went. So I thought blue chip, blue collar. So I was definitely blue collar. I want to work with the top. And he was like, this guy's an idiot, basically. But I remember the first month, the guy with desktop support experience, I was so envious of him. Yeah. But it didn't mean anything later on because we all got the same skill set. And then it was really about who could communicate better and follow a process. Yeah. Am I making it up? Did Tom Froggatt work yet?
Tom Froggatt worked there.
So you knew Tom?
He was. I think he was in. So he was the one that. I think he was one of the original people that set up Real Staffing in the life science, and he moved to
Meet. I think he went to.
Well, he went to Germany or Switzerland with Real. Came back, tried to set up an exec search business for Real, and then he went to Meet.
Yeah.
Good guy.
He's a great guy. He's the only person I can pinpoint from that business.
I mean, it was amazing. It was a great company to join at that stage, like 23 years old, no real recruitment experience, but the training ground was brilliant.
Were you living at Hemel Hempstead or were you?
I was living at home, living with my parents, finished uni.
How far is that into London?
half an hour-ish train.
No, it's nothing.
20 minutes in the tube sort of thing. So door to door. Like
It's quite expensive train, I bet, though, isn't it?
Yeah, like you're paying about £500 a month.
Yeah, it's actually rent if you're at home.
Yeah, basically, yeah, exactly. So yeah, it got expensive. So you want to just start earning commission as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was a great breeding ground. Like I remember Kalpesh Baxi was the sort of office manager director at that point. Yeah, James Hambury, Dave Curtis, the guy was my boss, and he was just it was everyone made it fun. Like it was militant, but it was fun.
Yeah.
You'd get in for 8 o'clock in the morning. You'd stay there till 8 p.m., 9 p.m. You then go for a drink. So you learn. You kind of the culture of the business was very much work hard, play hard. But it was a great breeding ground for just contracts, learning contract recruitment, learning sales, learning the hustle.
Were you working UK desk or?
Yeah, UK market, real niche within pharma and biotech.
So how did your billings go over the first few years?
Did well, yeah. I was fortunate to get off to a good start. I think maybe got to 10k weekly GP within like my first 15 months. One top rookie for S3. Got to £1 million after maybe 3 years on contract. But I always just kind of like maybe 2.5 years in, I just wanted to get off the phones.
Really?
Like, I just got bored of it.
Yeah.
I was just getting very frustrated with just knockbacks and setbacks. And you'd get up to 12, 13, 14k, then you'd have a barrel load of finishers, which would drop you down to 6k. I remember going from like 14k to 6k in one day. Wow. And then you have to build it up again.
Was that something that was like published for everyone to see in S3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Leaderboards going out every day.
Where I worked, like there was a lot of that, but it didn't feel like it wasn't like it was in your team. You spoke about it, but it wasn't like the business cared. Yeah. Yeah. So they make it really visible.
Really visible. Yeah. Yeah. So everyone knows how much everyone's earning. The leaderboards would go out each day. You'd obviously have the incentive trips to your Marbella's, your Vegas's, and all that sort of stuff. So it was good fun. It was a competitive, like highly competitive environment.
So getting off the phones, was that something that you put your hand up and said, look, leadership, or how did it go?
I remember just like one day, must have been maybe 3 years in, I was just like, I got really frustrated. I left the office, went for a walk around Soho Square, came back, and I was like, spoke to my manager, and I want to go into management, leadership role. I'd kind of like already, like as a kid growing up, like a captain's cricket teams and sports teams and things like that. So I always knew that like I enjoyed that side of the job. So they gave me that opportunity, like went down, just became a team manager, like had to sort of hire someone to mentor, show that I can do the management side of things and keep my billing going for a period of time. And then just eventually grow a team to sort of 3-4 people, and then and then you're kind of a product of your own success. If you do a good job with that, you might inherit a couple of other people, and then just went down the usual sort of team manager, business manager route.
Yeah. What does a business manager mean in S3?
In S3, so a business manager, so headcount wise, I think it was like 14 to 16 people. You're targeted on net fee growth or net fee income. You as a senior business manager, you probably have sort of awareness and your exposure to sort of P&L, but you're not targeted on it. Yeah. But you get treated well. The pay's pretty good, base salary's pretty good, the commission's pretty good. It's a pretty, if I'm being honest, it's a pretty cushy job. Yeah. Like you can earn a good amount of money. You're not on the phones. You've got team managers underneath you, probably doing a harder job. Well, definitely doing a harder job than you.
What did you have to do to go from team manager to that? How did you get that next?
Grow your weekly GP.
Is that all it is?
Yeah, grow your team, grow your weekly GP. So like I remember being a team manager, probably had about a team of maybe 6-7 people running 50k, let's say, weekly GP. You get set a target to get to associate business manager, which might be 60k. Get to business manager, might be 80k.
So to be fair, you got to give them credit that everything's really well mapped out, and it's like it's pretty objective. Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
and I suppose you can't get there by luck. If you've got multiple people, you have to be decent with people to get there.
Yeah, I think you can't get there by luck. You have to put yourself in positions to do well. You have to show the right traits. You have to be proactive. S3 promote people that are good at setting things up. Like to really get to director, you have to give them something that they haven't had. You have to create a business center or business unit, grow that. So it's not just a case of you just you stay in there, you inherit stuff. You have to do a good job. And,
what do you think? What do you think you did well at when you moved from off the phones? Like, what was your strongongest point, or what were you good at?
I really loved helping people. It sounds a bit sort of cliche, but I remember mentoring my first person, and because I was competitive in myself. Like someone else got started mentoring another person this person was kind of started around the same time as me. So I was really competitive with her about how quickly my person that I'm mentoring could do a deal, get off the mark. So I was very competitive with people in and around me, and I wanted my people to do well. I got a real buzz out of seeing them do their first deal, getting their first commission check. I think it's difficult one just to dip your toe in management. Yeah. I saw a lot of people who would just like the idea of it, but then they'd do it for maybe a few months and realise actually I'd rather just get on the phone and do some deals. But I really enjoyed just seeing people progress. Like I enjoyed the whole, right, what do you want to achieve this year in your life? Do you want to buy a house? Okay, yeah, you want to buy a house. How much do you need? 30K for a deposit. Yeah. Okay, let's reverse engineer that backwards. How much do you need to be running? How much commission do you need to be getting? How many deals do you need to do? Yeah. All that sort of stuff. So I love numbers, and I enjoyed that side of things. So I enjoyed this kind of driving KPIs, driving activity, creating it, making it fun, seeing people develop. So.
The bit that I think I struggled with, and probably still do to a degree, is when you're measured by numbers, but they're out of your control. So other people are driving the actual. Like, did you ever struggle with that, or did you ever have times where things weren't going to plan, and how did you solve it?
Yeah, you do have times like that, and it's hard. Yeah, and I would get really frustrated with those times. You want to be doing well, but your performance is to an extent reliant on the individual's performance around you. So I think you just have to. A lot of the time, I actually felt like, right, if the team is not performing, it sounds obvious, but that's actually is down to you and the atmosphere that you're creating. And are you training these guys well enough? Are you making the job fun? Are you motivating them enough? So I think looking inwards to yourself when those times were struggling, right? Actually, maybe you haven't done a good enough job. Maybe you haven't been on it for the last 6 months. So I think a lot of it is being truly honest,
really honest
with yourself. Yeah. But it's difficult. It's people management. You're dealing with people. I remember when I was a team manager, I had 4 girls who were all older than me with kids. Like some of them were in long-term relationships, some of them were married. And all of a sudden I'm dealing with some girl who's going through a divorce, and I'm 27. I don't know what to do. I'd take them to this coffee shop around the corner every Thursday, just talk to them for an hour, and just they'd offload all their problems and stuff. But
I think the key is
you get to know your people.
Yeah, the key isn't having the answers, or you don't always have to have the experience.
You
just got to listen. Yeah. A message from today's episode sponsor, Untapped. Untapped are the market leader and go-to agency for finding and hiring elite offshore talent into the UK, US, and Australian-based recruitment agency market. Now, I don't partner with sponsors I don't believe in myself. Untapped are someone I've personally used to build the team at Hoxo, and it's been a game changer. No one else we've worked with can compete with both the quality of the network and the time to hire, and the impact they've had on our business has been insane. From hiring, from consulting, from advice, they're a premium team that you can trust, and you're guaranteed to access a network of top-tier international talent that could be right for your business. Look, they interview over 3,000 candidates and put them through a 4-stage interview online every single month, and they only represent the top 1%. So you're going to get a thorough service at speed. So if you're looking at international hiring where you're looking at getting up to 70% less in terms of cost for equivalent UK member of staff in both recruitment and back office roles, then it's a complete no-brainer. All right, you're going to love it. So they are currently showing a waiting list for their next cohort of hiring, and it's almost full. If you'd like to join the waiting list, then click on the link in the show notes and take it from there. Good luck. Do you think you're naturally good at that, or is it something you've had to learn?
No, I don't think I'm naturally good at it. I think COVID was quite an important time for obviously everyone, but you learn a lot about yourself and you as a leader. Like you're just thrown into an environment where you really got to look after people. And I think before COVID, I was very like, I'd wear my heart on the sleeves. I'd get angry. I'd get frustrated very easily.
Yeah.
And I think obviously you mature and you get older, but the more you deal with people's problems, I think you learn empathy a lot more. And I think it becomes easier, and you learn how to deal with certain scenarios, certain situations. You probably mature in the sense that you realise that it's not all about business; it's about you're dealing with people's lives here.
Yeah.
So that probably becomes a bit more. You look at things a bit more holistically.
Yeah. So you're at S3. You're going up to the business manager route. Things are going well. It's a cushy job. When did I always say the train track start to derail for you? So when did things start to, what the business wanted for you and what you wanted start to change?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if there was a single point. It was probably over time. Post COVID, I had two guys leave who I'd hired, who were really good. One was a team manager, one was a principal consultant. Good, good billers, doing really well, and they'd left to set up their own business.
Right.
Both doing really well now, like living their, they're running their own business, just themselves doing well. And then you'd see other people do it. So many people from S3 have done it, but I remember just thinking, like, I'm just training these guys up, and then they're just going to leave and set up their own thing. I'm like, why can't I do that?
So you almost saw through others. Yeah, there was a flaw in the model, and actually maybe you should join them rather than trying to beat them.
kind of. But and also just, I thought it was a cool thing to do. I thought I respected people that set up their own business. When the two of them handed in their notice, I was like, fair play. Like, congratulations. Like you're good enough to go and do it. The challenge for me was that I'd been off the phones, and I hadn't done a deal in 7 years before that.
Wow.
So I'd, really, really off the phones. I'd be involved with the client side of things, with client meetings and supporting consultants, but I was like, I have no network to tap into.
And it also affects your confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because you're like, well, this could crash and burn quite quickly. What I did have was the confidence in my ability, because I knew that I've done it before. Yeah. And I knew that I would work hard, and I would try, I'd make it work as best as I could. But yeah, it was a huge, it took me about 3 years, I think, from first sort of thinking about it to actually pulling the trigger and saying, right, I'm going to do this.
What obviously you mentioned the Asian family trait to go down the doctor or lawyer type route, and I get it. There's a difficult. You've already got a difficult life in some ways from historical prejudice and stuff to beat that. And Amma, for example, would be an example of. I remember when we became teachers, and his brother's a lawyer, and his younger brother's a doctor who married a lawyer, but his older brother is also a teacher. Yeah. So his older brother's wedding, and his uncle comes over, and he doesn't know him very well. He sees Amma, he's like, she gives him a big hug, and he's like, oh, you're the doctor. He goes, oh no, I'm the teacher. And he went, oh, where's the doctor? And he just dropped him. Really? And I was like, wow, I saw it firsthand. Yeah. So when you go and jump into a recruitment job, how did they respond to that?
They were like, what's recruitment? Yeah. They didn't know what it was. I think my dad was like, okay, well, you're still applying for training contracts? I was like, yeah. I think over time they saw that you start earning commission, you start doing well, and I think over time they realise actually it's a good career path. You're working for a good company.
What did they think when you were then starting to talk about setting your own business?
Up? Yeah, again, same thing. But my parent, there's no entrepreneurial sort of roots in my family. I think we're not risk takers as such. Yeah. So I think again they were like, why would you sort of leave a comfortable job, doing well, to go and set up a business on your own, and where you've got it could completely go wrong. But then you speak to them and you sort of explain to him what it means, what it actually looks like. Like, what's the worst? The worst that can happen is, well, actually, if it fails, any company can go into a company and get a job again.
It really is like risk proof in that way.
You've got to be quite pragmatic about it. Because I think the biggest thing is your ego that takes it. And if you can get over that, then you're fine.
But genuinely, like any recruitment founder, anyone's got the bollocks to start their own business, it's typically got a good enough background that they can just go and get a job. Like someone will hire you. Like, so it's pretty risk free.
Yeah, really. It is. Yeah. And that's what when I was thinking of it, I've got maybe 6 to 9 months worth of living, good living expenses where I can pay the mortgage, live, a good enough lifestyle that I need to live comfortably. And worst case scenario, after 9 months, I've run out of money. And I go and get another
What did you do for that 3 years then? So what was like going, because I took 2 years, I think, for me. About 2 years. Yeah. It was 10 years ago this week that Amma's dad passed away. Right. And I've talked about this. We did an episode on it when I had him on the show. And we knew we were going to do a business. We were going to launch a company at some point. And that was always our like chat, but we didn't know exactly how. But it was November the 11th, 2014 when he passed away. And it was that following month that we said, look, 100%, let's do this. And then it took till the end of 2016 we quit on the first month of January 2017. So, but I'd say that everything was different. Once we'd made that concrete decision, the next 2 years felt so different because you almost felt like you were lying to people a little bit because you were like, you were authentically in everything up to that point, and then suddenly you're like, I'm in, but I'm in for my own gain with one eye out.
Yeah. And I went through periods where I was in and I was out and I was in and I was out, and I think I actually said to my director, I was like, I'm thinking about doing this. I think they changed a few things around, and I ended up staying for a few months, and then there was a few more changes, and I was like, right, I'm gonna do this now, and I made the decision because actually my director decided to leave. He'd been in the business for 16 years, and then he decided to leave. So that for me, I was going to get a new boss. That for me was the perfect time to do it. And I was like, I could carry on for another 2-3 years, get to director, and carry on doing what I'm doing. But
you're never going to get out of it if you keep that.
Yeah.
Then you're never going to be truly happy if you've had that itch to scratch.
Exactly. Once the itch is there, it's difficult for it to go. And also, like, I could, if I'd have waited another 5 years, for example, like at the time and now, like I don't have kids. Yeah. It's a pretty good time for me to do it. In 5 years' time, things might be different. Yeah. And I might not have the time or the commitment to be able to do that, and I might not do it at all. Yeah. I went for breakfast with my new boss, and he was like ready to map out the next where do you want to go in the next 12 months? What's our plan? Went to Ned, and I was like, Dan, I'm handing my notes in.
Oh, what was his reaction like?
He was like we were mates. He was a level above me. He was a director, but he got it. Like, he understood. He wasn't massively surprised. He backed me. He was good, really good guy. And then told like my MD and stuff. And they didn't really they weren't particularly surprised by that point. And they wished me well.
How did you? Was it an immediate exit that day, or
no? No, I stayed for. It was around so this would have been November 2022.
So 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I stayed until the end of the year, trained, did the handovers and stuff, and then went on gardening leave in the new year.
And were you doing the US market when you were? No. I thought you weren't recruiting anything, were you? So
I wasn't recruiting anything, but
did you have any
non-competes
then?
Yeah, just for the UK. So I was responsible for the UK life sciences contract and perm team. So I had about 32, 33 people, 25 on contract, running a book of about 90k weekly GP.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, so good sized book.
90k weekly. So that's what's that? 4.5, 5 million GP.
4.5 million, 2.5 operating profit kind of thing. So it was brilliant. It was a profitable team doing well. Some good people in there, good 2 or 3 team managers underneath. So there was a bit of succession there. They moved another person in. So I finished up in
Do you know you can always tell an S3 person when they refer to weekly GP? Honestly, like we never ever discussed that. It was always what you were doing a month, right?
Right, yeah.
But anyone you know, S3 weekly GP. Like, that's how you know.
They changed it to weekly net fees towards like about 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah, after weekly GP, just sticks.
Makes sense, yeah. But it keeps you that. So you make the decision, and take us back to that Christmas then of 2022. Yeah. What went through your mind? How did you plan the business?
So I'd started thinking about the US market about a year before. I just started connecting with people in the US on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So probably by Christmas time, I'd maybe like 800, 900 first degree connections in quality assurance, which was the market that I originally did.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, it makes sense to do this market.
You know it. Yeah.
I know it. I just need to build up a network in the US. So I was just connecting with people every day.
Yeah.
And then Christmas time, I was just like, it was, thinking of company names. It was, thinking of your strategy. I think I had like 3 goals, which was my first year, which was to try and build 150K.
Yep.
Focus purely on quality assurance, and just do the US, just focus purely on the US pharma and biotech market. So 150K pharma and biotech US.
And what was RX stand for? Where did that come from?
So RX, it means prescription.
Right.
It was one of those ones where you're just writing names down over and over again, and then it's like, right, RX, started looking into it, and then there was like some ancient Greek connotations to curing and healing. I was like, that's quite cool.
Relevant to the industry, yeah. Like it. It's different. It stands out. It's short, sharp. You can't forget it. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah.
Like Hoxo, names, you hear it and you go, yeah, that'll work. That'll work for me.
Did a few polls in my WhatsApp groups. What's the best name? RX came out on top.
Class. Yeah. So, did you take any time out, or did you go straight in the January?
No, straight in. So I think I started on, it was like 23rd of February. Something like that.
Do you wish you took any time out? I always think to myself, I wish I'd have done a few months between jobs. I literally finished on the Friday or the Tuesday, and then I think the following week, even though it was garden leave, because we were doing something different, we just got straight on with it. Like,
yeah, do you know what? I was keen just to get into it. The time I wished I took time off was after finishing university, because I was going to go travelling to Australia to play cricket for a winter, and then got the job. So it started in like July straight away. So no, but I was keen just to get started. Like I had my savings, which would have been sort of eating into and stuff. So and I was doing I was sort of trying to book meetings over Christmas, like when I was in, still working for S3, but I was trying to business plan and get meetings booked in advance. So I was ready to go.
So you still work from home now?
Yep.
Did you start in the same place as you are today?
No. So I've got a house in Hemel. So I was in there and until this February.
Right. So your first year in the house?
First year in the house, yeah.
And then you've now moved in with your new fiance that you got engaged this week?
Fiance as of 2 days ago.
Wow. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. Yeah, excited. It's been a bit of a blur, to be honest.
It's
we
amazing.
Went down to the Pig Hotels. Dotted around the UK. Really nice. Went to one in Canterbury.
Oh, amazing.
But she was like completely not expecting it at all. So,
how long have you been together?
3 years.
Right. You mentioned a point before, though, I think, which is really important. Like you started your business just before everything like this got serious, and that you've done 2 solid years before this. Then you've got. Do you know when you'll get married? Is there like a rough date?
Probably, like first part of 2027.
Right.
So 2026.
26. Yeah, so about just over a year.
Yeah, bit over a year.
Yeah. So let's say the business is like 4 years by the time you get married. You'll have done a lot of the hard work to foundational stuff. You've already done a lot now, which is amazing. You literally started in month 1 on the personal brand bootcamp, which is very rare to. I mean, we have a lot of early stage businesses, but to do it at the first month, talk me through what made your decision on that.
Yeah, so I'd always seen the value in LinkedIn, and I'd listened to the podcasts for a good couple of years, I think, before setting up, which was really helpful. Just hearing people's journeys, and found it quite inspiring, a lot of the stories. So then via the podcast, got to know you. I think I've been on maybe a couple of webinars when I was still at S3. I was actually trying to train my team up on just personal branding and putting yourself out there and posting and stuff, and just basically taking the stuff that you would train on the webinars.
Give it away for free,
Yeah, exactly. So then when I started, I think the chance to work with you, I think when we first spoke, it was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Because I was just going into a market where I didn't know anyone, didn't have a single didn't have much of it or any network at all. So one of my tactics, I suppose, was put yourself out there on LinkedIn and just talk about quality assurance all day long, like 3 times a week. And it probably annoys people, but the value that you can. I feel like if you can really add value to a niche network on LinkedIn, stuff will come to you.
So let's just, without going into too much detail, quantifiably, what did it bring to you last year? Because I know you had a really good year.
Yeah, I mean, it was every conversation I had, I would pick up, call someone, and because for me it was just calling people. On day one, I had 400 phone numbers of American people. And I was literally like calling them, saying, "Hi, I'm Hemish. This is what I'm doing." And obviously nobody knew you, but they kind of wished you well, or you might have a good conversation. But over time, you'd have those conversations, and people would be like, "Oh, by the way, saw your post on LinkedIn. See what you're doing on LinkedIn. Looks really interesting. Looks like things are going well." And you'd call people that you've never spoken to, and you're like, "Hi, it's Hemish." And they're like, "Oh yeah. Cool, how's it going?" And so the calls are just warmer for a start.
That's amazing.
Obviously, then the regular posting, I suppose, brings in inbound candidates, clients, whatever it may be. It builds credibility because people can see you know what you're talking about generally. It's huge. It was just such.
If you had to quantify the revenue, what would you say in the first year?
What, directly from LinkedIn? It's hard to say. I mean, I remember one of the roles that I placed, a CTO just messaged me out of the blue. I'd never spoken to him, for biotech in Boston. And he was like, "I see you do quality assurance, been following your posts, got a VP of quality role, set up the call with the HR guys and placed it." And that was, placed a 350K salaried vice president of quality. So that there in itself
70K fee.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's not even including just the amount of incoming senior level candidates that will message you saying, "Hey, could you help me with my search?" They might turn into a client. So it's difficult to sort of.
If you had to put a rough quantification on it, what would you say?
Probably a third of my revenue, to be honest.
Which was?
If you was, so first year we did about 220, all contract. I think I did my first deal in May.
Right.
This year I've done about 800, 850.
So if you're looking at that, it's over 300K in that 2 years, really. Isn't it?
Yeah, easily. And then the podcast as well.
Yeah.
A quick shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, Beyond the Founder. What is the essential senior hire that you need as a recruitment business owner to make an increase in both your revenue, but also protect you and your business as it grows? Let's be honest, building and scaling a recruitment agency isn't just about billings. It's about putting together a leadership team that you can trust to help take you to the next level. And that's where our newest sponsor, Beyond the Founder, comes in. They specialize in placing leaders who make impact, whether it's a managing director to shape your vision, a sales leader to boost your revenue, or an ops expert to streamline your processes. This is a premium retained service with a no-nonsense tailored approach. It's designed to save you, the most ambitious recruitment founders on the planet, time to deliver your results. Now, the man behind the business, Paul de Rosario, was on my show at the beginning of this season. He's got over 20 years of experience scaling recruitment companies, and he understands what's at stake for you, the client base. What Paul and his team do is they relieve that pressure, and they help you remove the biggest obstacle to growth, which is finding and securing key hires. Every single rad guest who's ever grown any recruitment company of scale, of value, has talked about the power of a leadership team. And Beyond the Founder are exclusively focused on this. So if you're serious about growing your recruitment agency, or if you want to build a lifestyle business that you believe is only going to get to where you want it to be with the right people around you, then you need to contact these guys. Head to beyondthefounder.co.uk or email directly at paul@beyondthefounder.co.uk. I'll also put links to the business in the show notes.
let's get back to the episode. What I love about the way you think, which is why I work with people like you, is because you're not sat there going, that one post didn't make me £10. Like you don't think like that. You see the bigger picture, and you know that actually you're laying trust foundations for the future. Like you've listened to my show for maybe 3 years before I've even met you, which I know means that there's an element of trust with me before I've even had to speak to you.
Yeah.
And you've done then and gone and done the same thing.
Yeah.
So
there's no cost to it. Like you're putting yourself out there on LinkedIn, you're posting value to your network. That doesn't cost anything. There's no. What's the opportunity cost of not doing that?
Yeah, it's crazy. The opportunity cost is you've literally got to try and ring as many people as you can every day.
Yeah.
Which, if you want to have a bit of a life, is not that much fun either.
No.
We were chatting off air with Nick, who was on the previous episode, and he said he's had, genuinely had less stress and probably worked less hours in the first 2 years. And you said you've had more time off in the first 2 years than maybe for the 10 years before.
It feels like I've probably had, and you're always working in your head. You always, especially if it's just me, I've always got if I've been on holidays, I've always got the laptop.
Yeah.
Much to my fiance's annoyance, but you can't hand yourself, you can't. But look, I've had more time off because the I suppose the time that it gives you, I've had more time off these last 18 months than I probably had in the previous 5 years.
But that is nuts to think, to do 800k in year 2 when you didn't bill for 7 years. What would you say to that person in, let's say, November 2022 now? What would you say to that person?
Don't panic.
Yeah,
don't panic. It will be okay. It will be okay.
And
it's not like, it's not the finished article. There's still so much more I want to achieve. But I was genuinely worried that I wouldn't do a deal.
Yeah.
And I think, having a good support system around you is really important. Like my fiance, she was amazing throughout that whole.
What does she do for a living?
She does recruitment. We met. Yeah. We met via S3.
She's still in S3 now?
No, she's left. She left last year, but
that's
so
good.
She gets it.
In a way, that's good. I mean, you can maybe talk a bit too much shop, perhaps, but at least she's not questioning why you do certain things. And I've had to really work on my wife, understanding why I spend time doing certain things and why I have to do certain things. And she's great. She's amazing, but I'm the first person in her life. Funny thing she said to me is, I'm the first person who's successful legitimately. Everyone else, she said, she's ever met has done something illegal to get there. And I was like, okay, that's not me. But genuinely, if your wife or fiance's been through it, you're just explaining the how, not the why, and that's a big one. So one thing that you mentioned earlier on, which stuck with me, was you got sick of the phones and you were quite happy to get off. Now you're back on, and you're not on the phone like you were at S3. The job's completely different.
Yeah.
But you've been really honest with me about the fact that you've really enjoyed just being you. You're not desperately trying to throw loads of money at hiring people. So tell us more about that. To go from someone who really was all about leadership to someone who's now enjoying no leadership.
Yeah.
What's been going through your mind there?
Yeah, I've kind of enjoyed. It's a weird thing to say because you've just set up a business and it should be pretty, stressful, hard, and it has been. Don't get me wrong. It's been hard work, long hours, but it's also been enjoyable because you're doing it for yourself. But yeah, I've enjoyed having just me. For the last 7 or 8 years, it was people management, and there were great times, and I loved just that when people were doing well. But you also have huge amounts of stress with that. You're essentially you could be babysitting a lot of the time. Especially if you're hiring grads or younger people who might be at the stage of their life when work necessarily isn't the priority. So they'll be going out, and then you're dealing with people not turning up for work and hangovers and doing MBRs every week, and and then if you haven't got an infrastructure in place underneath you, that becomes pretty hard. If you haven't got good team managers underneath you, that can be quite hard. So I've kind of enjoyed having just me, no meetings, no internal meetings, no corporate stuff.
You just do the essence of the job that makes money, don't you?
Yeah. Just focus on selling and sales and having different tactics to enable that. But now you do. But when you say that, I I think I will get to the point
Yeah.
where I will inevitably want to grow the business, and I'm at that point now.
Yeah.
For what I want to achieve, I don't think I can do that with just me and a few other people. I thrive off other people and energy of other people, and so I think that the time at the moment, I'm looking to try and get people on and interviewing people, and I like to grow something. What that looks like, I don't try and think too far in advance.
Do you think you'll be an S3 type business?
No, definitely not. No, absolutely not. No, I don't think I could or would want to do that. But if in 5 years' time I've got, say, a team of 15 to 20 people servicing the life sciences, pharma and biotech sector, operating across the US, operating different niches, working with really cool organizations who are developing medicines that are treating patients with unmet clinical needs, having a meaningful impact, that's where I want to go. And if I can help other people, internally build their careers and earn good money and, get themselves off the ground and achieve things that they want to achieve in their personal life, then that would be rewarding for me as well.
Amazing. What I love about your story is you've got both skills. You genuinely put the work in for 7 years to build that business manager, 30 staff type model. Yeah. You questioned your own abilities to do the job again and gave you. I was nowhere near as experienced as you in that manager role, but I definitely felt that me and Amma were like at different levels. Amma was still banging deals for fun, and I was not. And confidence wise, I can relate. Yeah. But then you've gone and solved that. Yeah. So now you've got this jigsaw that you can fit them both together. So what does the next 12 months, if we were going to sit here next Christmas, what do you want to be saying will have happened?
I'd like to have a team of 5 or 6 people. I'm in a fortunate position now where I can I can afford to hire some people, maybe make 1 or 2 mistakes even.
Yeah,
ideally not.
That's probably inevitable.
Yeah. I think.
What's the profile of the people you want?
It's a good question. I would ideally like a bit of a blend of a bit of experience and some more junior people. 2 years in the industry, maybe 1 or 2, 4 or 5 years type people with a bit of industry experience. It's a difficult one because I think there's real benefit of taking on more junior people and then just training them up how you want to train them and making a few mini U's.
Yeah.
I think with the infrastructure it's difficult. With the infrastructure that I've got at the moment, it's difficult. Like to do that remotely, I think will be a challenge.
Yeah. Do you want to stay remote?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I can achieve what I want to achieve with just doing it remotely.
Would you do it in London then?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I'd look at getting an office space, for 5 people, let's say.
Would you go into Central or would you stay more like Islington or something?
Don't know. I love the buzz of the city.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's you're then putting a high cost on
you
all
are,
of
yeah.
that.
You are, but in a way, I think there's been a lot more innovation around that since COVID. That people share places, and no one's 5 days a week really anymore. So there's definitely more scope than perhaps pre-pandemic. I think it was a ridiculous, and everyone used to have to sign like 5 to 10 year leases and shit back then. It's not. Yeah. It's definitely a better place now.
Yeah. So that's an option. But more than anything, I'd like to be establishing a team of people that truly understand their niche that they're operating in. They become specialists. They're big on their personal brand and they're big on creating value to their network. That leads to creating a good performing team and organization. And and I think longer term, like just having I would love to have a business where people you could look at and say, right, you're having a meaningful impact on the life sciences industry. And by meaningful impact, I would say you're helping a good amount of customers. You've helped them get from preclinical into the clinic into marketed territory. So running a good sized contract book.
Sounds amazing. I don't know if this is even a question or a statement, right? But I have a lot of conversations with people like you. I think my network is made up of people like you. And there was an episode, I don't know if you ever listened to the episode I did with a guy called Robin Dernicker from Zen Show, an Australian living in Japan.
maybe.
And what he said was, so his business, Zen Show, I don't know how well it's doing, but at the time had about 30 people like you who were all under the same banner.
Yep.
They all recruited slightly different disciplines, but basically he said where he thinks every organization goes wrong is they work out what's the minimum I can pay someone to keep them in the role.
Right.
Keep them with the business for as long as possible. And he's like, I want to flip it and say, what's the maximum I can pay someone and still be profitable? And like as you're talking about that 15 to 20 person model, in my head, I'm thinking, you know, if you can live with the fact that you get some personal brands and 360s and they become mini Hemishes, if you can live with the fact that some of them will go and do what you've done, that's cool. But if you can create an environment where they don't have to, if you can create the RX group just becomes the brand, but they all are partners in that brand with, you know, a large take home, like you make it so it's so good that there would be no point to go. Yeah, you might not make as much per head, but you're used to making just your own amount anyway. Yeah. So it's like, why do you need to pay massive salaries in a role that's all about comms anyway? Like you don't, especially in the US market because the broking that real estate broker mindset in America is quite common, isn't it?
Yeah. You're right. And it sounds weird, but having a big payout at the end of 5 years, 10 years, it seems, and that's obviously a big factor as to why a lot of people set up. Yeah, it's never really crossed my mind in a sort of tangible way as if I want to build a business, sell it in 10 years time, because I want to just enjoy the journey of building a business and creating something, you know, that's having a good impact on the industry and that we're serving. But it just seems like once you set that, you've got a goal to go to, but what's after that? You know, it just feels too far away for me personally to be like, I want to build a business to a 200K contract book and sell it in 5 years' time.
Also, what the fuck would you do then anyway?
Yeah, I don't know.
Loads of money.
Again, it depends on you and what you want to achieve. Personally, like I don't need, £10 million in the bank to live the life that I want to live. No, I'd like to be able to live a good lifestyle, go on some nice holidays here and then. You know, if I have kids in the future, put them through a good education, whatever, and give back to your
which you're
family
probably able to do that now anyway.
Which, exactly. Yeah.
But I just think, what could be better than a business of like 15, 20 people that are similar standard, that are already extremely bought in because they're taking home the majority. So then, and so, you know, but I guess their income doesn't necessarily, your income, the majority of yours doesn't necessarily depend on them. No. So you're still doing your 800K yourself, and you're just giving them the vehicle to do the same. And then you might be taking, I don't know, let's just say you take 200K off that. Yeah. You get 10 of them, and you've done 2 million a year from them, but they're still making 800 each. Yeah. And you think, or 600 each, whatever. Yeah. It's like, it might never grow to 1,000 staff or whatever, but fuck me, that sounds like the goal. And there's a lot of people like you who would have gone 3 years earlier than when you left. You might have gone and done that because it's a slightly more attractive proposition to some people than going on completely on their own.
Definitely, right? And they're the people that you probably want to try and attract, is those people that are at that sort of stage where they could go either way.
But there's a lot of these, like you say, the Recruit Hub and all these brands that you're part of. They're brilliant, but like I think there's room for the niche specific brand. Like you say, the RX is just Life Science US, and then it's like, right, well, let's slice and dice the US into sections and let's just fill the gaps. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm making it sound too easy, but I think it's possible.
That's the S3 model, was to just slice and dice, right? Yeah. So you know, by the end of my career at S3, my team had half of the UK. Yeah. You know, so we had 90 to 100K a week in half of England. Wow. In pharma and biotech. And then you had people who would just focus on counties or letters of the alphabet. So niche. It's super niche and difficult to attract experienced consultants with that, you know, limitation, I suppose, and what they're seeing. But there's a huge value and benefit to just being like, right, you are super niche, you're focused on this specific market in this specific location, and you don't touch anything, and you become famous within that space, because you can utilize LinkedIn so much better as well. Like
and you can just put a ring around it and go, right, I'm going to own that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be much more complicated.
Your competition is suddenly just drastically reduced.
Yeah, incredibly reduced.
Yeah.
No one thinks about that. They think about what they're losing, but what about what you're gaining?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hemish, genuinely, like, I've loved working with you. I love seeing your journey. You know, you to me, you're the epitome of the modern startup founder. Like, that's who the people I surround myself with, right? If someone, I mean, you've kind of said it about yourself, but if the question I took from a previous guest was like, if someone is doubting themselves now, before they quit, what could they do? What do you think someone could do to rebuild that confidence or to get that confidence before they quit? If someone sat there going, look, I've been a leader for too long. There's quite a lot of those people out there. I've been there, you've been there. Any ideas what someone should maybe go out and do?
Well, firstly, I just think to yourself, what's the worst that can happen?
Mm-hmm.
I think being really practical about it. Secondly, like, lean on what you've done in the past, because just because it was 7 years ago doesn't mean you can't do that level of performance now in a different market with slightly different tactics. So if you've done it before, you can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
I would say make sure that you've got the support system in place around you, whether that be your partner, your family. You need people around you that can get you through tough times. I would say start building a community, whether that be via Hoxo or Recruit Hub, but just having different groups or different people that you can kind of lean on and get for different advice. Like, when I was at S3, I was in a bubble. You get into a bubble.
Yeah.
You do get into a bit of a bubble where you think that your way is the only way and there's no other way to do certain things. And once you leave that, there's a big world out there of people that want you to succeed as well and can give you the resources. So, and just like back yourself, go for it. Like, it's not as scary as it seems. Like, I didn't have a single network before starting it, like you say, and I think people are too scared to take the leap because they think it will fail.
They think it'll fail. Fear of failure is the biggest. I actually think I would go on record to say, though, I am more driven by avoiding failure than I am about
100%.
creating success. Like, I genuinely am.
That's same for me.
Yeah. Like, to run away from failure keeps me going every day. I always think this could come crashing down, like, every fucking day. It's just non-stop. I think that's a recruiter mindset.
So.
Like,
I think you did contract, didn't you?
Yeah,
So,
you're taught that because you paid so well based on something that could crumble in minutes.
Yeah, exactly. You're always thinking 3 months ahead what could happen.
Yeah. I think it's taught me well, but sometimes I wish I could turn that off. It's crazy. Look, if there's anyone listening who's maybe a year or two behind you, wants to pick your brains, I imagine if they reach out on LinkedIn, it's all good.
Yeah, 100%.
Top man. Thanks so much for being here, and you're 100% coming on in the future to show us what's happened. And let's hope you get to that 5+ heads, whatever the number, whatever the growth plan. I'm confident you'll build something that you're proud of.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thank you as always for listening to today's show. I truly hope that you got value from it. Honestly, it's the only reason I take time every week to ensure that my audience, you guys, future and existing recruitment owners, you're learning from each other to make this industry that I love so much stronger. And today's episode is brought to you by my business, Hoxo. I'm the CEO and founder, and we're on a mission to help brand recruitment agencies and their people better. I want to help people have the tools to stand out in the most competitive markets in the world. So I'll see you again next week with another episode. Catch you soon.